And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to take a look at a print-and-play game called Flickago by Jeremiah Lee. This copy was printed by Andrew Tullison of Print and Play Productions, so if you're looking to have print-and-play games made, he can certainly help you out. But real quick, we're going to take a look at this flicking game, which is about two rival, gangs or mafia-type gangs in Chicago vying for control. We'll see how the game plays and what the components look like, and then we'll come back here and get my final opinion on Flickago. Here you can see the board for Flickago, and this is a two-player flicking game. Each player is going to be on their own side of the board, either the left or the right here, and they're going to have their own set of pieces. They have thug pieces that look like this. There are 7 of them. And they are going to have family pieces that look like this. They have a family on them, and there is 5 of those. And on your turn, you're going to be taking one of these pieces and you're going to be flicking it, either from the start line here, or if you already have some of your pieces on the board, there are some you can flick from wherever they are on the board. In addition, you'll see that there are 3 of these inspector pieces in the center of the board that are kind of governor pieces that prevent you from going certain places or will remove your discs from certain places if they're there at the same time. So let's say you wanted to flick one of your thugs. You'll see on the board there are several T spots and there are F spots. Thugs must always be flicked from a T spot. So let's say I started here and I wanted to flick this piece. I would flick it over. Now this one is actually still in play because it's still on the line and it's in the two-person spot. The inspector got flicked off of the board. It would come back onto the board on one of these stars on the board, whichever one you wanted if it was free, and it would be chosen by your opponent. Now let's say, for example, this landed here, just to make it a little bit easier on our opponent. This would be worth 2 points if it was still here at the end of the game. This piece, as it's a thug, cannot be flicked again, so once you flicked your thugs, they're gone for good. However, if we had used a family member piece instead of a thug, it would have been flicked from an F, and it could be flicked a second time. And this would allow us to flick it maybe to get it inside of that 3 area in order to get more points for it. But once it's flicked like this, it's flipped over and can no longer be used. So you get 2 flicks out of the family and 1 out of each thug. In addition, at the end of the game, these will score a point based on which side they're on. If they're on the line, they're always going to get the higher number of points. So this is 2 points and this is 3 points. You'll see there's a side on the spot of the board that's worth 5 points. If you get your piece in here and it stays there till the end of the game, you can get 5 points. However, if at the start of your turn one of your pieces is in here and still safe, you can take it back to your headquarters and use it again on a future turn. There's a caveat to that, though. If the inspector is ever sharing a safe return to headquarters spot with any of your pieces, it's automatically removed from the board and out of the game for the remainder of the game. Now, the objective here is to score points, and you're going to score points by leaving your pieces on the board in the specific areas that are marked for points, either 5, 3, 2, or 1. In addition, these inspector pieces can be moved around the board by hitting them with your discs. And if they end up on your opponent's side, let's say this player got this inspector over here, it's also going to score a point for this player. So whichever side these are on will score for the opposing player. Additionally, all of the discs that are knocked off of the board by flicking them, so say for example this was over here and this player flicked it off of the board all the way, this is going to count essentially against the white player for having the piece removed from the board. And this is going to be scored by looking at how many pieces were removed from the board by each player. So if the black player had managed to only have 3 pieces removed from the board and the white player managed to have 5 pieces removed from the board, then the black player is going to score 2 extra points. So at the end of the game, the number of points you score is however many of your pieces are left on the board for the appropriate points for the area that they're in, plus the difference between the pieces knocked off of the board. And at that point, which is when no one has any more pieces left to flick, whoever has the most points is going to be the winner. Well, there you have Flickago, a very fast game, pretty easy one to put together yourself if you have the components, but simply just not that great of a flicking game in my opinion. Now, I love flicking games. I don't dislike this flicking game. I don't think the theme is really very important, which is pretty obvious. I mean, you're flicking discs and trying to get them into specific circles, so the theme is just kind of an extra bonus. But I think the small size of the board kind of hurts the game a little bit. If you get a piece in your opponent's area, it's very easy for them to flick it out using one of their pieces. They can kind of position other pieces to try and to make it go out easier, and there's there's not a whole lot of room for leaving a piece on the board without the option of your opponent removing it. And that's a problem for me. So you end up with these very small scores, whereas you're counting a lot of pieces that have come off the board. So overall, not a great flicking game, one that is okay, but I'd much rather just be playing Crokinole, to be perfectly honest.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.